What's up everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hammer Down Ranked, where we rank the albums from some of my favourite bands ever, talk about the bands on the t-shirts and vlog gigs and festivals all across the UK. Now today we're doing another ranked episode, this time about New Jersey based band Palisades, whose original name was Marilyn is Dead, which she is, before then changing their name to Palisades in 2011 when they signed with Rise Records. Now, in the time that they've been around, they've now done 5 albums as Palisades. There was a record as Marilyn is Dead prior to this, but I'm not counting that in this list. We're just talking about the 5 records by Palisades once signed with Rise Records. So that album, if you do want to check it out, by Marilyn is Dead, it's called Appearance Disappear. So go and check that out. It was released in 2009, but right now we're going to stick with the 5 albums since the name change in 2011. So in 5th place, we have the debut album 2013's Outcasts. This album debuted at 181 on the Billboard 200 album charts. So Outcasts, not a bad debut record, but in reality it just doesn't stand up to the quality of some of the later albums. Now that's not to say that all of it's bad, although if I'm honest there are some songs on it that I'm really not a fan of. There are some incredible bangers, in fact some songs which remain in the sets right through their career. In particular, the song High and Low, which when I first saw it at the Joiners in Southampton supporting Our Last Night, when I saw Palisades play that tune, I hadn't listened to Palisades before I went to the gig, and my goodness, that song went off. That drop that they do, where the chorus should be, I suppose, is just crazy. And when I saw them live that time, blew me away. Since then, that song has always remained in the set list. I then saw them at Download Festival a couple of years later, I think. That song is just mental. They even played High and Low at their final ever show on the 25th of February 2023. It was the last song of their encore, so clearly, even though it was written right at the start of their careers, it was an absolute belter. Other than that, the song Sydney is a particularly beautiful song, but generally speaking, this album just doesn't have the writing maturity or the production level of some of the later albums, and that's okay because it's a debut, but it does remain in number 5 for me. So up next in number 4, the second album from the band, Mind Games, which was released in 2015. Now a lot of people might say that this is one of their more preferred albums, but to me, again, a good transition from the Outcasts album in 2013. This record is better produced, more maturely written, but I still don't think it quite lives up to the maturity and the absolute excellence of the final 3 albums. So to me, it doesn't quite stand up, even though some of the songs on that album are some of the best they've ever written. So some of their highlights on this album for me: Mind Games, No Chaser, Play a Hater's Ball. Those songs are awesome. No Chaser in particular, I love that song. Cool music video to go with it as well. Set at like a party with loads of booze. It's pretty great. Now, the album peaked at 198 in the Billboard album charts, and although it was a pretty decent record, that's as far as I can go on that. There's a couple of songs, again, that I'm just not a massive fan of, but it certainly does a better job than Outkast does. So, we're going to get into the top 3. Now, all 3 of these albums are awesome, but before we go into it, I just want to give a special shout out to the band on my shirt today, Weller. Now, I've just been on tour with the new metal band Weller all across the UK for 8 dates, and I can tell you their live show is unbelievable. Now, if you listen to a lot of their earlier stuff, it's a lot more like alt-rock, Brit-rock type stuff, but they've really beefed up their recent tunes. Listen to songs like Fire, Longing for the Light, and now, I mean, I can tell you because I've heard it, the 6 songs that they've got on their new EP are huge. They're going in a way heavier direction. There's a lot more screams in there, a lot of growls. They're a savage band. If you like proper old school new metal with some turntables, some sick rapping in there, and some chunky breakdowns, get over and listen to Weller. I'm going to put a couple of links in the description of this video. Buy their merchandise. This is a brand new shirt. It cost me only 15 quid, so definitely get yourself some merch. And check them out at one of their upcoming shows. They are also playing at Hammer Down Festival on July 27th and 28th, 2024 at Concord 2 in Brighton in England. Wherever you're watching, get yourself down to that because it's going to be an incredible show. But back to the point in hand, we've got 3 albums left to go through from Palisades. And in number 3, it's 2022's Reaching Hypercritical. Now, by this point, the iconic voice of Lou Michelli had gone from the band and he was replaced by Brandon Elgar. The first single to come out with the music video as well was My Consequences. Great song, really intense start, showed what was to come for this album. Other songs like the title track for the album and Your Misery are also incredible tunes. There were also a lot of slower, more mature songs on this album that really showed Palisades' songwriting and Brandon Elgar's lyrics in particular. Songs like Closure and Sober. Really, really good album. However, the only thing that stops this album being one of the top 2 records from Palisades is simply because I feel like a lot of the songwriting is playing a little bit too safe. There's not as many out there crazy dub drops and, you know, all like random effects going off. There's not loads of crazy electronica. It seems to be a far more tame album, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just think it takes away from the magic that Palisades had on the top 2 albums that I'm going to tell you about. So number 2, 2018's Erase the Pain. This album for me, my goodness, is one of the best albums I know. It's awesome. The riff on the song War is the catchiest riff I've ever heard in my life. Like, whenever I have that song in my earphones, it gets stuck in my head all day. I can't get it out. It's a wicked piece of songwriting. I mean, the whole album is incredible. Ghost, Shed My Skin, Erase the Pain, Fade, that's a banger as well. The whole album just feels collectively very, very well interwoven. Every song feels like it's transitioning into the next part of the album. It all feels like it's stitched together really intelligently. And overall, this is an incredible album. To my knowledge, this is also the highest charting album that they ever did, which would explain why it's such a good album. This got to 175 in the Billboard 200 charts. Erase the Pain also has my favourite album cover from any Palisades album. Not that that means anything, but it is cool. And so finally, on to number 1. We are talking about the self-titled album Palisades from 2017. Now, this has been described in several interviews with the band as being the definitive Palisades album. The song Let Down has a catchy and beautiful chorus, absolutely fantastic, and it has their most successful music video to date, which has amassed 8 million views. Personally, my favourite song, not just on this album, but from the entire back catalogue of Palisades, is Better Chemicals. You can really feel the pain in Lou Michelli's voice when he's singing it, especially in the chorus. You can just tell that that is an emotional song. And my goodness, it is just a fantastic piece of work. As well as that, Fall, again, very catchy chorus. Hard Feelings, absolute banger. And Personal, a far more intense and aggressive song. But that song is awesome. The whole album has a far darker feel to it. You can see that with a lot of the music videos that they put out, some of the lyric videos. The album cover itself is clearly a darker reflection inwardly. Whether that's just Lou and his lyrics or generally as a band, I don't know, but it's certainly a darker album, a more emotional album, and this is at their most emotionally mature. I don't think there's any doubt about that. This album is one of my favourite albums out there, certainly my favourite Palisades record, 2017's self-titled record. So let me know what you think in the comments. Did I get this right? What albums would you have swapped round? Do you think I'm a fool for disregarding the earlier albums and much preferring the newer stuff? Or are you the other way around? Let me know. Otherwise, like, subscribe, check out some of the other videos. We've ranked Tremonti's albums, we've ranked Stone Sour's albums, and there's many more to come. We're going to be releasing a new Hammer Down Ranked every single Sunday, so make sure you get on that. Thank you so much, and we'll see you very soon.